So yesterday we were trying until activity and it was failing. So we'll quickly discuss that at the end of the session. But before that, I'd like to start another topic, which is Azure Key Vault. Okay, so let's see what is Azure Key Vault and why we need it and what are some of the benefits of Azure Key Vault. Okay, so you remember when we creating a stored account, when we are creating link service, everywhere we need to give the username and password. Now imagine when you are in working in a real-time live scenario where you have dev, you at production and many of usernames and password you need to manage manually, right? So that's not a scalable option, and also it's not a good option to keep all the password sharing between. It's not a security level. It's not a good option to sharing passwords and all, right? So to manage that, can you hear me now, Sunita? Venkat, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's clear. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's clear, sir.
Okay. So might be Sumit, you might have some problems, Sunita. You need to unplug and plug again. Okay. So similarly, not only username and password, when you're dealing with cloud computing, you might have to store some of the keys and some of the certificates, all the stuff you need to manage internally, right? So Azure Key Vault is a managed service to uh, keep all those certificates, keys, and secrets. So Azure Key Vault is a secure secret store, which it's kind of a store to keep all your secrets, keys, and certificates. Okay, it's completely managed by Azure, and no one would able to access that with a proper unauthorized access and use those password until unless you give them permission. Okay, and also it's a very safe way to protect your keys, certificates, and passwords in a safer and secured manner. Okay, so it's just a secret management. We can store all the API keys, certificates, passwords, tokens that we use across the different cloud services. We can keep them in a single kind of a single point of store where you can manage at a scalable level. Okay, you can also use the keys, right? The encryption and decryption. Let's say you're following your own way of encryption. Let's say you're following your own way of encryption using your own key, right? You're not using Microsoft provided default keys. You're having your own key. So those keys also you can manage in the key vault. And also certification. So as we discussed yesterday, when we deal with web services and to get the data for access, to get the data from websites, right? So to access the data from websites, you need to have a valid certifications to authenticate. So those certificates also can be managed, and you can store them in the Azure Key Vault. Okay, so now let's see why we need Key Vault. Okay, it's because it's a centralized way of handling all the application secrets. Remember, you might be dealing with multiple passwords, multiple tokens, multiple certification required for multiple different applications and all, right? So it's very cumbersome to manage individually in any other form. So Azure Key Vault gives you a centralized way of handling all those stuff in the cloud, and it's a kind of a centralized repository where the respective individuals and the respective applications can access them from a centralized location. Then the second thing is securely storing secrets, right? So individually it's managing very difficult when you deal with the keys, encryption and decryption keys, right? So it's okay, passwords you can manage somehow, but managing keys somewhat difficult without Azure Key Vault. And also once you have those keys and certificates, everything is stored. You can also monitor who is using those keys, and you can put your security controls accordingly. For example, I have my keys and I have my secrets. Secrets is passwords. So password we call them as a secrets. Okay. So now who is using those secrets and who has access to those, and you can see which application is using, which process is using, which individual is using. All the things you can track it from Azure Key Vault. So this is again one of the key concept in cloud computing, and not just related to Azure Data Factory, but in general of cloud concepting. So we will also be using to store the secrets. For example, when you connect to linked service, it will ask you the username and password. And when you connect to a storage account, it will ask you the storage key and all, right? So those stuff we can also use leverage Azure Key Vault, and we can store in store them in the Azure Key Vault. Okay. So now let's quickly create a one Azure Key Vault and see how we can and we can demonstrate how we can use them in our linked service by connecting to a SQL database. Okay. So now so you can see when you log into it, it will come as a services here, or if it doesn't, you can type over here. If you type Key Vault, you can see the first option will come as a Key Vault. So I have a one created, but let me create a one other. So as usual, it's same. You need to give the resource name, resource group, as well as subscription, and the Key Vault name. Okay, let me give Key Vault ADF. Okay, it's already in use, and ADF demo. All right. Now the reason I wanted to deploy this key vault is in again if I'm using South India across. Let's do the same thing. So now it's when you see the pricing tier, there are two pricing tiers are available. One is standard, another one is premium. Okay, so premium, of course, it comes with the different uh, advanced features and all, and also it costs you more than the standard. Okay, so for our purpose for the demo, we can use the standard one. Now soft delete enabled, and days to remind deleted values is 90 days. So let's leave the rest of them as is. So it's internally does some validation before creating. Yeah, you can see the create is up. You can create them. So it takes a while to deploy the keyword into the respective region, and you can see the deployment is in progress. Okay, so go to resource. All right, guys. So now the keyword has been created, and you can see the keys, secrets, and certificates. So we can store them over here. For example, see, um, right now we don't have anything, but you can create, generate, or import. Let's say you're already maintaining those keys and certificates, everything in a manual or on-prem model. Okay, so those also you can import. There is an option to import them as a bulk, or otherwise you can create a new one. Okay, and similarly secrets and certificates. Now let's create a new one. So for this demo, so I have a, sorry, not a key. So I want to create a secret. So I am using a SQL database, and I have a password. So I want to keep that password in managed through Azure Key Vault, so that I need not type that password everywhere when I create a link service. So I can give the secret to connect to SQL DB. Okay. So now I will type my password over here. So this is the value. This is the value. So this is the value of the password to connect to the SQL database. Okay, remember the secret value is nothing but your password value that you need to type it over here. Okay, so now let's say now the passwords you can set the activation and expiration. For example, as per the organization policies, you need to change you need to change, and you need to put the expiration of 90 days or 60 days, right, etc., right? So you need to set those dates. For example, this one has to be activated either today, or you can want to postpone to future. So you can do all the activation stuff. Okay, but let's leave it as is. We won't activate our expiration now, and let's create it.
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, I'm able to understand these things by we are using the keywords. But can you tell me how these things will work in a real scenario? What purpose we are using this?
See, the purpose is when you create a, I'm coming to that. So when you create a link service, you need to provide the certain keys and certain if you connect to storage, you need to give the keys, or if you connect to SQL database, you need to mention username and password, right? So instead of typing the password manually, okay, so the password can automatically come up from this keyword. Think about the real time scenario. You could be dealing with multiple passwords and all, right? So let's say you
Mhm.
want to connect to a database. So the database administration will send you the password, and you need to remember this password internally, and you need to give that password every time when you connect to the link service, right? So instead of doing all the things, you can manage those passwords in a centralized repository kind of a place, where that is what the Azure Key Vault is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So instead of managing internally and manually, so Key Vault is a kind of a centralized place where it's a managed service, and you can manage at scalable level. Okay, I will show you an example after this creating, and then we can see how this Key Vault can be used to create a link service. Okay.
So one more thing, because I'm getting lot of confusion. The thing is, whatever we are getting the data, I mean, we are connecting the database management by using the Azure application, or whatever the data we are getting from the social media, we are going to keep that in a cloud and we are managing that.
Yeah.
So this is a confusion, sir. Like, see, if, I think if in a bigger companies, like they will be having a huge data. So
Hmm.
are we maintaining that data by using this application through connecting the DBMS, or we are particularly taking the data and keeping in that cloud?
Exactly. So now, that's a good question. Let me answer you.
Okay.
See, the work what we are doing is for analytical purpose,
Mhm.
analytical workload, right? So what does analytical workload means? We are getting the data from different sources,
Mhm.
right? And for
Yes.
example, source one, source two, source three, and etc. Right? And
Mhm.
we are getting the data from different sources. The data required for our analytic purpose. Okay, for example, the analytic workload, the use case might be, I want to get the sales real time sales from across the countries. Okay, so my
Mhm.
company is operating in US, UK, Europe, and across at around 100 countries. Now,
Mhm.
as a CEO or as a CFO or any high level executive, I want to track the sales in real time.
Mhm.
Okay, so now assume that I have a for example, US, UK, Europe, no, sorry, and whatnot, Australia, right? So now, how the sales happens in actually, the sales happens through their order management system. For example, you want to buy something from Amazon India, right? So
Mhm.
what website are you using? Amazon.in, right? And somebody
Yes.
from US, when he ordered, he wants to buy something from Amazon. So what website he uses? Amazon.com,
Yes.
right? So now
Yes.
at when somebody at Jeff Bezos level, Amazon CEO, he wants to get the total sales happened yesterday, right? So different countries use different order management system. Different countries are using different systems to get their orders. For example, if you go to Arab countries, UAE, so they might be using, because of their internal and regulatory compliance that pertain to their countries, they might be using different system to get the order,
Okay.
right? So now at the end of the day, to get the sales that generated by Amazon at the SLA, you need to get the collect the data from all these sources, right?
Yes.
So that is where the purpose of ADF. Okay,
Okay.
so
So
we are
you mean to
connecting.
say
Yeah, go ahead.
their DBMS itself, I mean their itself stored in a cloud.
It might be in cloud or it might be in their on-prem systems. It might be in Excel format. It might be in any other format. Let's say there is a country which is least, for example, let's say Nepal, right? So let's say Nepal, I have a business and which is very I'm very, it's kind of a very less generated revenue. Okay, so I'm not using any sophisticated order management system. So they're maintaining in their sales in Excels. Okay, they have store, and there is a store manager who puts the, let's say yesterday it had happened around $100,000. He's maintaining in Excel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you need to include his data also, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is the purpose. That is the problem we are trying to solve, where we are connecting to multiple sources. It could be an order management system, it could be an Oracle, or it could be an Salesforce,
Okay, okay, okay.
and it could be an Excel also. Because see, our problem is we need to get the real-time sales data from across the countries. This is the problem we are solving for an executive. So now to get solve this problem, you need to understand which are all the countries and which are all the sources the data is available, and bring the data together. Bring the
And
data
to
to,
analyze.
yeah, and analyze it. So how do you bring the data connecting to different sources, and how do you bring the data together and then do the transformation? That is where the Azure Data Factory will come into picture.
Okay, so correct me, sir, if I'm wrong. Like this Azure is works as multi-purpose to save the data in cloud, also to manage from the cloud, and also to connect the uh, DBMS. It might be in a physical available like on-prem and all. So using this, we can connect and manage, and we can retrieve the data from the cloud.
Right, you're right. So
Okay, sir.
just to reframe that, so Azure Data Factory is a cloud-based tool to get which connects the data from multiple sources and brings the data to cloud and then do the transformations,
Okay, okay, okay,
and
okay, sir.
the transformation that are required to uh, um, gives you the real-time sales data across countries. Okay,
Okay, sir.
so
So to
once
manage or to operate this data, we require a SQL.
so now you, as I said, right? So one is Oracle, one is Salesforce, one is Excel. So you have a different data sources. So you need to bring the data. You need to have a consolidate all this data together, and you want to create an target data model, right? So you need to once you brought the data, once you do the transformation, and the final the data, you need to store it somewhere, right? To access by
Mm,
the report or to access by whatever, right? So
mm.
that final store, that the final persisting layer is what, either it could be a SQL server, a SQL database, or it could be Azure Data Lake storage, or it could be any other format,
Okay,
right?
got it, sir.
Yeah, let's say I wanted to create a my CEO wants to a Power BI dashboard, right?
Mhm.
He wants a Power BI dashboard to look at the real time sales on daily basis.
Okay.
Okay, so what I will do, I connect to all these things. I will use ADF, and create a target data model in Power BI and put the data into SQL database. Okay, and Power BI can connect to the SQL database and then refresh the data automatically.
Got it, sir. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
See, again, I definitely appreciate you to asking this question. See, the reason we are having this session is to understand more detail what problem are we solving, right? Unless we know problem we are solving, unless we know the uh, what are we trying to achieve, it's very difficult. Of course, there are so many concepts, there's so many theories are available. At the end of the day, how are we connecting all the dots together to solve a problem is what the crux of the business.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So now the secret I have created to store my SQL database password over here. So now, how do I access this to a link service? Okay. So whenever you create a secret, you remember there are some secret policies you need to establish. Okay. Remember when we discussed, these are the very highly confidential informations like passwords, keys and certificates. These are very confidential informations, and we don't want to mess it up with giving access to every application or every individual. All right, so you need to manage those access policies. So in real time case, don't worry. So this is a kind of an organization level policies that the cloud engineers would able to manage. Okay, but they just a kind of a for your information, because this is a major one of the component in our Azure Data Factory as well to understand the keyword. Now, when you see when I click on access policy, by default as a user I have access. Okay. Uh, but remember I wanted to use this in my ADF process. Okay, so now to get that, so I need to grant that access to ADF also, so that in my link service I can use this secret. So let's create a new one. Okay, so you have keys, secrets and certificates. So we don't have any keys, don't worry. So but secret we have. So get and list. Okay, let's just grant these two permissions. Now you should see by default it will ask you which service you want to give that access. So in my case I have ADF, so you can see the ADF I can give you access. All right. So now the key vault had been given access to the application which is ADF demo, and also as an individual I have access to this. Okay, so this is how we will manage the access policies to Azure Key Vault. We don't want to give everybody and every application access to this. Let's say tomorrow somebody else, you're developing a new Azure Data Factory, and that Azure Data Factory wants use the Key Vault, and you need a permission. So you need to raise a request to get that access, and then the request being the Azure Data Factory name would be added over here, and then accordingly you can use it. Otherwise, you will be not able to use it in a real time scenario. Okay, now let's quickly go. Okay, so now let's quickly try to create a link service. So I want to create a link service with SQL database. See, whenever you want to connect to different services using that requires authentication. So by default, there are two options comes. Either you want to connect to connection string or Azure Key Vault. Of course, the connection string is by default, but it's always best practice, and as an organization level, the enterprise level, it's always best practice to use Azure Key Vault. Okay, so wherever you get these options, there you can use Azure Key Vault. For example, if you see, I want to connect to the integration runtime. So integration runtime, in our case, we are using auto resolve the Azure default one. Okay, but what if I want to connect a integration runtime, which is a on-prem integration runtime? So in order to connect to the on-prem integration runtime, I need to authenticate first. So to authenticate, you need a credentials. So those credentials you can be able to store it in Azure Key Vault, and you from Azure Key Vault automatically the link service can figure it out and get that password. Okay. So now in our case, we are using in this case we are using Azure Key Vault to connect to the database. Okay, so let's see how it works. So I have created free and the server name and the database name. Okay, now so I need to provide a username password. I know username, but password I don't know. So password I just kept it. I'm managing through Azure Key Vault as a secret. So let's select Azure Key Vault here. So when you do it, automatically gives you the all the keywords are available. Okay, either you use that one or you can create a new one. Let's create a new one. Now, when you click on the keywords, the one which just we created Azure ADF demo, it will appear over here and you can just select it. And it's always best practice to test the connection, just test it. See, this is the secret I wanted to use to connect to database. All right, now the link service is over. Now I need not worry if the password, let's say tomorrow the password has expired, right? Whether after 60 days or 90 days the password has expired. So I need not come to link service, and I need not open each and then link service and reset my password. That manual activity is not required. I just go over here. I just go over here and go to open my secret and just change the password. That's it. And another way could be, you can see the current, this is the current version, right? I can just add a new version and I can get the activation date and expiration date. And that's it. The whichever is the active at this point of time, it will be automatically used to connect to your link services. That's the another benefit of link key vault. Assume that, let's say I don't have a key vault, I have it 100 databases. There are hundreds of link services being created to access those databases in different use cases. Now, as an organizational policy, I want to reset the password every 60 days or 90 days. Now imagine I after resetting the password, all the 100 of link services, if I go manually and change every time, it's a huge humongous task, right? So that to not to happen that one, you can easily manage those secrets over here and just activate the current one, and the respective databases when they connect, they will use the current, which is the active secret from keyword, and they can automatically connect to the databases. Okay, so that's the one to connect. And the second one is, even if you're connecting to a blob storage, you see by default, see, since we are in a same, by default it's using account key, and Azure internally manages those keys and all. But let's say you want to connect, you want to manage them, those keys externally, right? So how do you get that account key over here? So if you go to, so if we are using this storage account, and go to containers. So now here you can see you see access keys. So these are the keys. So when you mention in here account key, so Azure automatically takes the key. For example, if you see these are the keys to connect to the storage account. So when you mention in your link service, if you say account key, this is the key automatically picks up by the Azure link service. Now this key you need to refresh, see rotate key, because it's always a security, it's always a security aspect to rotate the keys always, very often. Otherwise, if you're using the same key across, there is a chance of hacking, and there is a chance of somebody steal those keys. Okay, so now let's see. So this is my key. Now let's see. I rotated key. See, the key got changed now. So let's assume that you are using the key, and there was somebody had hacked. You got to know that somebody had got hacked the storage, and you got a email, or you got an instruction from the organization that hey guys, don't use the default keys. Can you rotate your keys? Right. So you immediately come to the storage and rotate that keys. Now, if you're using key vault, this value will be automatically taken up to key vault, and you can keep it to create a new one, and the link service, everything will automatically updated. So these are the some of the benefits to managing the key secrets in a centralized way. And it's a very high possible in your real case. You cannot be using the same key every day. After a certain period, you need to rotate those keys. You need to regenerate. Okay, so these are the use cases for um, key vault. Okay, so hope you got what is key vault and what is the purpose and how this it can use in a real time scenario. So if you have any questions, we can quickly discuss, and and then we can jump into the until activity that we had a problem yesterday. Sachit, did you try the until activity the yesterday one, which was failing?
Yeah, I tried. Yeah, I tried. It was failing for me also.
Yeah, can you bring up your screen? I will tell you why it's failing.
I deleted, sir. I deleted all the demos yesterday. Okay, let me show you if I still have. Give me 1 second. I'm just opening. Give me 1 second. I think mostly I deleted yesterday because I wanted to redo today. So let me just give me 1 second. 1 second. And 1 second. I'm going to, where is my screen? Screen 2. Okay, so can you see my screen, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, so where is the, I think I deleted mostly one, I think ADF Azure Lab one. Okay, let me launch the Azure, this one. So if I go here, I think I deleted, sir. I remember I was most, because I plan to do it all the demos one by one again. So I don't have, I think did you finish that, sir? Like today's session, you fixed that problem or not?
No, not yet. I am going to do now.
Okay, okay. So probably you do it then, sir. I'll just look at the recording and do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. I'll just stop sharing in that case. Stop sharing.
Okay, so now, okay, so before coming to, we need to create a variable. Okay, let's create a variable. Okay, so as we discussed yesterday, so until is basically evaluates, it executes the set of activities mentioned underneath until the conditions set to true. So it executes based on the condition. So if it first evaluates the condition, if the condition is true, and it executes the set of activities mentioned underneath, and then again come back and again evaluates the condition. If it's still true, and again executes, and again once again it again validates, and then it continues until the condition is true. Okay, so now what we have done is basically we have created a false. Okay, so now what does it mean? By default, it's a false, but in between somewhere this can set to true. Okay, so it wait for the condition to be true, and then only it will move ahead and then execute the further steps. Okay, so let's see how it works. So we are basically the use case is here is I wanted to ensure the file should be available in my um, storage account before I copy to the SQL database or any other destination. Okay, so I'm using until where the expression is. Okay, so now you remember the expression true or false going to be where evaluated using Boolean expressions, right? So we have system. Okay, so we have a system. Okay, so we are validating whether the variable is true or false using the Boolean variable. Okay, by default it's false, but let's see how it does. Okay, so now what I need to do? Let's mention the activities. So we wanted to check the file exists or not. Okay, so to do that, get the metadata. So once you get the metadata, you need to give the data set. So I'm using the existing data set to just to see okay, we have an employee or not. All right, this is good. And I want to see a user exist operator. Okay, so once I had the exist operator basically it gives you again true or false, right? So now I want to use this exist operator and then do something. Okay. Now what is the next step, Sachit? If you can remember.
Hmm. Sorry, sir, I missed that step. I was reading email. I'm sorry. Oh.
So now I got the metadata, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once I got the metadata, what is the next step I want to do?
We need to validate, right? If and else one, right? It's
Correct.
true or not.
Correct. So that is where we need an if condition.
Yeah.
Okay, so in if condition again, you need to mention the activities. So on true, what I'm going to do, I'm going to okay, sorry, here expression. Here expression, I want to use the output of get metadata. Okay, So again, it's a the exist. You remember yesterday we were missing this one, the dot exist.
Oh, okay. So means, sir, I have a question. So remember, when you look at before, if we have metadata activity, right? Under
Hmm,
the metadata data activity, because we select what sort of metadata we want to capture. So we
right,
selected exist, right? So
correct.
it means when we are putting output, after output dot, say like last file name, whatever we should put it that one.
Yeah, yeah. The reason why we need to put is, if you remember, see metadata, it will gives you multiple outputs. Now let's say you are
Mm-hmm.
using another one, last modified date or column
Mm-hmm.
count.
Mm-hmm.
So now if you just use uh, metadata output over here without this one,
Yeah, it get
okay,
confused which value
confused which
should
one to
process.
use. Yeah, which one to should I take it,
Yeah, to process basically. Yeah.
right? So that is where you need to use exist.
Okay.
Now again, enter this has to be under boolean, right?
Mm-hmm. I think, sir, one day, if you don't mind, just teach us this how to write this script part.
Which script?
Like the one which you just now put it, right? It's coming automatically, but I really don't understand. Like here, at the rate we are putting, right? So when we are defining any function, so any function, any key we are putting, does it mean it should always start with at the rate?
Yeah, so it's automatically comes. Yeah, I'm not typing anything over here.
Yeah, no, I understand it automatically comes just for our understanding purpose, the meaning of this syntax basically, because
Yeah,
every time I see the at the rate, it is start with at the rate. So my question is, whenever it starts with at the rate, so means any inbuilt function I'm going to use or anything I'm in build I'm going to use, it must, like previously you use concatenate, right?
hmm,
So even that was using at the rate. Now we are using Boolean, it is using at the rate. Means whenever any syntax we are going to write, it must start with at the rate. Does it mean?
yeah.
Okay.
I will tell you.
Okay.
So if you remember, we have done the stored proc, right?
Mm-hmm.
So stored proc, we have declared a variable, and we
Variable.
have we have assigned that variable to a value, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there what we used at the rate,
Mm-hmm.
right? At the rate is what the syntax.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there you have to manually manage that, but here you need not manage it. You just need to select that, and at the rate it automatically appends that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you remember that, see, the entire code is going when you execute this pipeline, the entire code is going to be executed in a SQL server,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
these are at the rate and all. These are the practices of and syntaxes of SQL Server, Microsoft SQL
Mm-hmm.
Server. Okay,
Yeah, but
so
sir, sorry, I'll interrupt you, sir, here. One thing. So that is the variable, right?
hmm,
So in
hmm.
Microsoft SQL, we also have function, we also have
Correct, correct.
keywords, but those function keywords does not use the at the rate. So that's why I'm getting confused with that.
No worries. We'll. That's a very very valid question. We'll discuss that. Okay,
Okay,
in
okay.
detail we'll
Thank you.
discuss. No worries. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
so once you have that, once you have set that here, right? We already set that. Okay, so we use
Mm-hmm.
that, and if it's true, what we need to do? If it's
It's
true,
true.
we should
It's
copy that, right?
correct.
Copy the data. So, but we don't use copy. But for example, let's say weight. I want to give the weight of 10. Okay, so now let's debug this. it will fail again.
Mhm.
So it's giving some error. It's from some forbidden error. Okay, but don't worry, we will fix that. But you understand that, right? Why it was giving error? Guys, yes or no?
Sorry, what did you say, sir?
So you understand why it's giving error, right? Why it was
Mm-hmm.
giving error yesterday,
Correct, correct.
right? So we were
Mhm.
missing. We are missing that. What do you call the exist? The exist we are using out of get metadata. We are missing that operator. That is what it was giving error. Okay. So now let's see. So it's still running, right? See, it's become infinite now because we didn't set that variable to true, right?
Mhm.
So it's the metadata is keep trying. Is always it's again and again and again and looking into the metadata because it's becoming false. So until it become true, it always looking for that. You understand?
Mhm.
See, this is the scenario I want to explain you. See, the until is looks for the condition to be evaluated as true, right? So we have set initially false and we didn't set to true. So until it looks for until the condition evaluates to true, it keeps checking the metadata, keep checking the metadata. You see, it's keep checking the metadata every time.
Mhm.
You see how many times
But
it.
sir, we put it. Sir, did you put it in the loop or did you put it in the if class?
No, it's a, until itself is a loop. By default, until is a loop.
Ah, okay, 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 okay.
Okay, so that is where we didn't set that variable. So I want to show you that behavior of until. So that if you see it keep checking, keep for every 1 or 2 minutes, keep checking, it keep checking until the condition is evaluated to true.
So, sir, means one time so suppose as of now it is keep trying, right?
Hmm.
So now one time just the condition made true. In that case, it will not try. So it will
It will not
again
try.
try.
It will try.
It will
It will exit of the loop and it will do the rest of the activities that you mentioned after until.
Okay, so means we are going to use this until one. So suppose we want to like every day one file get generated to my blob storage, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
once the file gets generated, then we do next process, right? So before we do next process, we go and check the file. So the file can sometimes generate at sharp 10 a.m. can be sometimes 10 a.m. maybe 10 a.m. 10 seconds, right? So for
correct,
the 10 seconds, this until will be keep checking, right? So
correct.
my question is, sir, so if until continuously checking and there are many pipelines or activities we have, like I'm
Hmm.
talking about not just one pipeline, suppose we have 10, 20, or maybe 100 pipelines in my environment, ADF environment. So these until activities, every pipeline has an until activity they are running. Will they not contribute any sort of performance problem?
No, it will not. But in real time, you will be using more powered. That is where the cloud computing, right? It scales automatically. Okay. So you
Okay.
remember, it's here. It's true. Here it's a false. Okay. It keep checking again. False. Right. It keeps checking. Sorry. False. 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 Right. It keeps checking, and let's say it's here. It's become a true. Now
Mm-hmm.
at this point it will exit. At this point it will exit, and it will do the next activity which we mentioned as copy. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
it's keep checking across. Okay. Again, I want you guys to try this one. If you, unless you try, you won't be able to get the in deep of how until works. It's very important concept, and um, unless you do that, you won't be remembered. See,
Yeah.
that is right. So we want to test, and we want to see all those options. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's again we will meet tomorrow again, and today we discussed about how to use Azure Key Vault, and also how until in deep dive we did some kind of a deep dive how until works. And tomorrow we are going to discuss again. We need to send an email, right? How do you send an email if the pipeline is success, or if the pipeline is failure? How do we need to send an email, right? We can't be
Mm-hmm.
sitting always sitting in front of pipeline, and we nobody monitors that, right? In real time,
Correct. 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 Correct.
right? In real time, you need to send an email in case of failure or success. So how that happens,
Mm-hmm.
and how do we trigger a email in such events? We can discuss about that.
Okay, I have a question. I'm not sure, Sunita and Venkatesh, do you agree with me? I'm genuinely asking because I struggle. I don't know, you guys also is struggling. So Venkatesh and Sunita, are you guys able to revise everything?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Because I still struggle to finish my all the demos because of office work. So if good, otherwise I was thinking, why not, let's one
So such
day
as I
meet.
can give you one suggestion. You need to
Yeah,
plan your calendar, right? Of course everybody is
yeah,
working, and the work I do, the work you do is completely different, right? I'm not
correct.
saying you are more workaholic, and I'm not. It's not like it's all
Yeah,
individual, and how do we manage our time calendar, right?
correct, correct.
Yeah, so you need to plan accordingly. But yeah, we can discuss offline. If you have any specific questions that you're not able to, we can discuss offline.
Okay, thank you then.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great,
All right,
great.
guys, we'll resume tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.